For your viewing pleasure today, I've compiled 10 of the most pointless motorcycle arguments. The first one is that counter steering isn't real. People talk about, bro, I don't counter steer. I just lean, I just go in the direction the bike turns, it just goes. And physics professors and seasoned riders and everyone else in between just collectively face palms. Then we have to have an argument about how the bike is always counter steering and it's always doing that. Look, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you think you're intentionally counter steering or not, that's literally just the way a motorcycle turns. So regardless of your opinions about counter steering, it's sort of like whenever you decide to say that gravity is just a theory. It will act upon you whether you want it or not. Counter steering works every time, bike's always doing it. Let's move on. The next most prevalent argument we hear all the time in motorcycling that is really just so pointless is that helmet laws are an attack on freedom. Ah yes, the never-ending debate between personal liberties and common sense. Somebody always shouts about, well, it's my body, I can go kill myself if I want to, disregarding the fact that it's a collective burden on society to go and pick up your mangled corpse from the side of the road, and then the trauma inflicted upon your family, the lost wages you're going to incur, and just the overall net loss of society when some 20-something guy decides to go kill himself on a motorcycle because he wasn't wearing a helmet. Yeah, getting a little real with you guys here because motorcycling is not a joke. Look, it's really not that deep. Just wear a helmet. There's no argument to be had here really for not wearing a helmet. I cannot believe we're still even talking about this, to be honest. It's crazy that it's 2025 and people are like, should I wear a helmet? Should I not wear a helmet? Maybe I'm gonna wear a helmet. My personal freedoms. I'm like, oh my God, it's not that deep, just wear a helmet. The next one, we've all heard this one, and this one's really pointless, is that loud pipes save lives. Oh man, if I had a nickel for every time I heard this. As you guys saw in a recent video of mine, I've sort of become an evangelist for stock pipes. I don't really want to bother anybody. I just want to enjoy my motorcycle. And I feel like I'm being a better motorcyclist by not making people angry at me for how loud my bike is. And the argument goes, well, if they can hear me, they won't hit me. But the problem is, again, physics comes into play. The sound coming out of your tailpipe is going behind you, and most accidents happen in front of you. So unless your exhaust is pointing forward, doesn't do a whole lot for you. In fact, getting a really loud horn is actually more effective than having a really loud exhaust. These have had studies done extensively showing that loud pipes don't really do anything. Intrinsically, if you just think about it for a sec, you're like, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. It doesn't add up. And realistically, if safety really is the concern, which it usually isn't with a open header Sportster that I hear going down the road, you should wear high vis and get a really loud horn, and you should probably wear the best gear you possibly can too. Being visible to the naked eye, and then also being loud enough with your horn, and then practicing defensive riding is going to save your bacon way more than loud pipes. But we have to keep having these arguments online. The next perennial argument we see all the time online is that Harleys are garbage and sport bikes are for squids. Harleys versus sport bikes, cruisers versus sport bike riders. I mean, this has been like a perennial debate for like 30 years on the internet at this point. The prevailing wisdom is that Harleys are junk, they're overpriced, unreliable, they leak oil, they're for old farts who can't ride really well. And on the flip side, sport bikes are just a bunch of zoinked out teenagers who are going really fast and endangering everybody. Meanwhile, the ADV guys just off in the corner at Starbucks taking a sip of their coffee, wondering what the problem is. Look, at the end of the day, ride whatever the hell you want to ride. If you want to ride a sport bike, do that. You want to ride a cruiser, do that. But let's not engage in this weird dichotomy, this black and white thinking, this red versus blue, this 1 versus 0, this very diametrically opposed viewpoints that we have as human beings, that we have to separate people into two camps to make fun of or to create an other group. Guess what? It's not cruisers versus sport bikes, it's motorcyclists versus cagers. Retain focus. Remember who the real enemy is. The next argument that we have to talk about, because this one comes up again and again and again, is that you have to start on a 600cc or bigger motorcycle. I cannot tell you how many times I have seen screenshots of Facebook groups, even seen on Instagram comments, YouTube comments, these people that think that because they started on an R1 and they somehow lived, that everybody should do that or it's totally fine to do that. every single rider who is worth their salt in any way, shape, or form will tell you that's just not a great idea. It's not the most optimal way to approach this hobby. I've made countless videos on this topic myself as well, talking about this thing, this phenomenon where particularly the North American species of motorcycle rider believes that they must start on a 600 because they won't be able to keep up with traffic otherwise. And then, well, they need 1,000 to keep up with their buddies. Yes, you need a 200 horsepower Squid missile to go out and keep up with your buddies. If your only concern is just doing this in a straight line, sure, maybe 1,000 can work, but if you need to manage traffic, go around corners, go into parking lots, do virtually anything else that a motorcycle should be able to do, having 1,000 as your first bike, probably not a great idea. But the hamster wheel turns constantly of this argument of, oh, I should start on a 600 because it's bigger and I need to get the bigger bike. And it's like, I cannot believe we're still having this argument. I can't believe it. Now look, yes, you can start on a big bike. There's no doubting that. But the real question is, should you? And the answer is probably not if you value fun and the amount of money in your bank account. Now, I'll add a bonus argument for you here. I see it all the time in the comments and throughout the internet world is, Yami, new bike giveaways are a scam. And that is just simply not true. I've given away over 55 motorcycles here on the channel. And this year, I'm giving away a new bike every single month this riding season. Head over to yaminoob.co. Our MT-07 giveaway is wrapping up right now. And then we're gonna launch a really cool new giveaway in April. If you want the ins and outs and you want to see what that new bike is, join as a member and you'll get access to our Discord server. You'll enter in for all the motorcycle sweepstakes as well. You'll stack up your entries. It's a great way to support the show. If none of that interests you, you can always pick up a hat, a t-shirt, a hoodie. Every dollar you spend will be an entry to win, subject to a multiplier. We have new designs coming out all the time. We have an amazing back catalog of really cool designs and bestsellers. Go and check out the website. That's my little pitch to you. We're the largest independent motorcycle media channel on YouTube. We're not beholden to any corporate sponsors, as you can tell by how unhinged and bizarre I am, because it's just me and a couple of guys making these videos. It's really not that too special. So support a small business, support the show here on YouTube, get started on yaminoob.co. All right, this next one genuinely is like the most pointless arguments ever. And I've never understood this one because I'm like, what the hell are we even talking about? It's, what is the best oil to get for my bike? This one to me is crazy because I'm like, as long as it's the right weight and it's working for motorcycles, I literally could care less what oil's going in that machine. As long as it's gonna lubricate the internal moving parts and it's rated for motorcycles and it's the right weight to work in the right temperature, who the hell cares? It's crazy. And the funniest thing is that this argument is objectively the most boring thing you could talk about bikes, and yet people get so heated about it. You can see forum posts literally going back to the 90s talking about what oil people should get and how you're a moron if you use this oil, or if you use this type of oil, you're so stupid, or only true patrician chads would use this type of oil. It's crazy. It's literally crazy that we're having this argument. People say, dude, if you're not using the greatest stuff ever, you're not putting it in that Motul 300V, your bike's just gonna blow up. Or on the other end of the spectrum, you have guys saying, I don't know, I just picked up some olive oil from Walmart, my DR650 is running pretty good on that. Look, as long as you're running the correct weight and you're changing it somewhat regularly, your bike is probably gonna be fine. Also, bonus point inside of this one as well, you don't really need to clean and lube your chain every 300 miles. The sealed O-ring style chains are virtually indestructible. You don't need to really care for them that great. It's not that big a deal. It does look nicer when your chain is clean, but really, who cares? I just wanted to add that one in there. The next argument all the time is, should motorcycles have all these electronics? ABS and traction control are for wimps. Why are all these bikes coming out with all this crap? I can't believe this. We go back and forth on whether or not a brand new motorcycle should have electronics or not. Now look, here's the thing. Electronics are good on motorcycles, right? They help keep you safer. ABS was often thought about something that's like, oh, I don't need that crap. I don't need anything pumping my brake lever. I can brake real good myself. But the more time that passes, the better this tech becomes, and then the less intrusive it becomes as well. Some of the earliest traction control systems on motorcycles were pretty darn rudimentary and didn't really do the job that great. But nowadays, when you're talking about trickle-down tech from MotoGP, and these bikes have 6-axis IMUs helping to keep things in control and limit power when you need it, needed to, that's pretty cool. And in my opinion, these tech features are really designed to help you on your bad days or when the weather's not great either. Particularly with the power figure some of these bikes are putting out. To be honest, I'm really glad a ZH2 has a rain mode because I've ridden that bike in the rain and it was pretty terrifying. And to be honest, most of this tech you can just turn off anyway, so if you really do want an analog riding experience, you can get something that you can turn off all the technology on anyways. And if you don't align with the tech, just keep running olive oil in your DR650 and leave the highly advanced stuff to the rest of us. Okay, the next debate online, and this one's usually by, I want to say, children and teenagers and maybe young adults who never grew out of the teenager phase. It's what's the fastest motorcycle? Disregarding the fact that the rider typically makes the biggest difference in anything that's fast, and if your definition of fast is quite literally just top speed, that's more of a theoretical measurement of how fast the motorcycle is, because you're never really gonna see that speed, maybe except for a very brief fleeting moment where you can actually have enough runway to open the thing up. I made a whole video talking about how top speed is virtually irrelevant, but truthfully, if your motorcycle has a potential theoretical top speed of 186 miles per hour, you're probably gonna touch 186 maybe 4 or 5 times total in your life ever. I had the chance to go 212 miles per hour on a Prep Ninja H2 at the Texas Mile, and that was the only time I've ever been over 200. I probably never will go over 200 ever again. So debating the fastest bike to me really is pointless. The usual suspects always show up as the Suzuki Hayabusa, the Ninja H2, and maybe some guy who's still living in 2002 and thinks it's the Honda Blackbird, and then you have some other guy saying, well, actually it's the Dodge Tomahawk, and then the 13-year-old chimes in and says it's the Y2K bike, it's the jet bike. It's really boring. It's really boring, and somehow the debate keeps going. What's the fastest bike? Maybe it's human curiosity. Maybe our monkey brain just needs to be itched a little bit, and then you're like, oh, that's the fastest thing. But what about something faster? The other debate I see a lot online is that cruise control is just for lazy riders. And honestly, if you've ever done a big day in the saddle, just slapping it up for 6 hours trying to get to the next cool destination, cruise control is awesome. I love cruise control so much, I even put a manual cruise control on my Ducati Scrambler Desert Sled, and the Touareg I ride around now on the daily has electronic cruise control. And let me tell you, virtually any chance I get that I know I'm gonna be kind of cruising on that bike, I use cruise control. I don't really think having cruise control makes you lazy or less of a rider. It's just a nice creature comfort if you're gonna be doing really big miles on the bike. I mean, following that logic, an electric start is for wimps as well too, but I think we've all moved past the point of thinking that you need to kickstart your own motorcycles to feel like a real man. The other discussion I'm a bit tired of having about motorcycling that I'm seeing online is that electric motorcycles are either the future or the worst thing to ever happen. To me, they're somewhere in between and virtually irrelevant to what I'm doing because I'm a gas-powered bike kind of guy. There's more extreme ends of the spectrum. You got old fogies that would literally rather push a carbureted motorcycle through the desert than ever have anything with a battery pack inside of it. And then on the other end of the spectrum, Yamaha is creating self-riding, AI-driven moto robots, and people were like, what the hell is even that? What are we doing? I want to build AI to take the crappy parts of living away from me. I don't want AI to ride motorcycles and make art and do cool stuff. Can we just get AI to like do the dishes and laundry, please? That would be nice. Now look, whether you love them or hate them, electric bikes are here and they're gonna stay. I don't know what their future holds necessarily. All I know is I'm gonna keep riding dyno juice powered motorcycles until the end of time. So folks, those are some of the most pointless motorcycle arguments you can have online. Many of them have been understood and there's no debate really. Others are functionally pointless to have a debate about. And at the end of the day, we're all riding motorcycles. It's a great time. Now, some debates are worth having, like, is a Turbo Hayabusa the right beginner bike for you? And the answer is yes. You get to grow into it. It doesn't have a lot of power down low because the turbo's not spooling. All you gotta do is just control yourself, bro, and then you'll be able to ring out the red line a little bit. It'll build boost. It's a great starter bike. You can really grow into it. It's really nice. I mean, maybe that one's not even up for debate as much anymore, you know? All I know is that now is the best time to head over to Yamidu join for our giveaway motorcycles. Thanks so much for checking out today's video. Hope you had some fun. Hope we get a couple of laughs in. I appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
Oh, I love being here inside of the warm embryonic fluid of Valentino Rossi. Me and him just sharing foods together. Maybe he's gonna eat some pizza or some pasta here in the hills of Tavolia. But you know where else it's nice and warm and cozy is this next episode of Yammy Noob you can click on right over here. I'd love for you to watch it. But anyways, I'm gonna stay here hanging out. Me and him might go onto the track later, but I'll catch you guys later.